And then there's like filters on TikTok. There's like the AI manga filter, and that's getting like super weird
That
and
one's
silly.
weird.
I know Radio Matt like has had a lot of fun with that. There are people who are like trying to find all the ghosts in the world by just pointing the AI manga filter at things and being like, oh, there's one right there.
Welcome back to Church Nerds once again. My name is Bubba.
My name's Anna.
And hopefully this segment goes a lot smoother than the last one. I'm not making promises. I'm just saying hopefully, okay?
We're just going with it. You know what? They're here, and most of them like us.
Yeah.
So
they're probably doing something else anyway while they listen to this. Right?
I wash dishes while I listen to podcasts.
I don't know a single person that just listens to a podcast and that's all they're doing.
Well, that would be like attending a lecture, which is like, I guess some people do it.
This podcast is not that interesting. It's not lecture style.
No.
Nope. Hey, but you know what is interesting? Head on over to lovethynerd.com where you can find all sorts of articles and other podcasts, and our radio station, LTN On Air, is over there. Just a plethora of things, resources, all sorts of really cool things for you to read and take in so that you can learn a little bit more about this nerd culture ministry thing that is so important to me and this ministry. Once again, that's lovethynerd.com, and you can go to lovethynerd.com/community to get involved with us on Discord, where we believe the true relationships happen outside of IRL, in real life, in-person stuff. We also got a Facebook group. You can hang out there if that's your thing, but I'm going to encourage you to go over to Discord, lovethynerd.com/Discord, if you want to get straight to it.
You like wrinkled your nose like the micro expression of disgust that I learned from Lie to Me.
What did I say it on?
On Facebook.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I meant it. I meant every wrinkle. I meant every wrinkle of that.
Okay. Well, today we're going to talk about a little bit of a hot button issue. We're going to talk about AI, not AL, which is anytime I see AI, I want to say Al. It's not. It's not Al. It's AI.
Oh, that's you said you didn't want it to be artificial insemination.
That was going to be later. I was going to talk about that later, but we'll just throw it out there.
It's not. That's not what we're talking
AI means
about.
artificial intelligence. Or, depending on the context, artificial insemination. We're not talking about
Where
that.
my Aggies at?
I just wanted to clear the air. That is not what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Not this episode.
Okay. Well, AI.
Yeah, where do you go from there?
The AI. It is like gaining steam like never before. And so then there's like two sides of this conversation. There's the people who are like here for it and love it, and they embrace it because they're like, this is going to make so many things so much more easy for us. Like, we can just utilize this tool and just put it in the tool bag with all the other tools we already have that are helping us like to navigate the world today. Literally. That's Bubba.
Yeah.
Bubba's that guy.
Hi, Ray.
And then there are other people who are kind of regarding this whole thing with this growing sense of suspicion and foreboding and like
increasing amounts of trepidation.
The world is changing. I feel it in the earth. Like, Galadriel's little speech in the beginning when like the One Ring is gaining power. Anyway, like this is changing the world, and I'm not really sure that it's changing it for the better. That's me. I'm that person. It scares the ever-loving stuff
artificial
out
insemination out of you.
Don't stop saying that.
I'm just trying to.
Okay.
It's going to catch on.
First of all, let's talk a little bit about the history or like of AI.
How far back you want to go?
This is not all the way.
Oh, okay.
All the way. Okay. So the term artificial intelligence was coined by a man named John McCarthy, not to be confused with John MacArthur.
Mm-hmm. who probably doesn't know how to work it. If
Probably
we're being
not.
real.
But that was in 1956. And that was, they're actually like, they made this conference kind of thing that was like the first artificial intelligence, like research kind of think tank place.
Okay.
And then the first AI program was called Logic Theorist, and it was designed to mimic human problem solving capabilities.
Okay.
Okay. So then scientists have kind of been working on this for decades, and they're like, it'll have a big growth spurt and then it'll kind of go not really dormant, but like there'll be a lull in it for a while, and then they'll have another growth spurt and then there'll be a lull. And the reason that happens is because a lot of AI stuff is really dependent on computer storage and like processing speed.
Sure.
So it could really only progress as quickly as storage and processing could progress.
Sure.
Like, back in the 50s and stuff, the computers, they took up the entire room, just,
Yeah.
whatever. So once those old dinosaurs started to kind of get with the program, that's why we're seeing
Oh,
this.
I see what you did there.
Oh.
You're the program because computers.
No, I didn't.
That was a good joke. Hey, let's.
I meant that. Okay.
Yeah, give yourself the props.
So there have been kind of sundry things that, have been worked on or have been notable projects as far as AI is concerned. But one of the things that really brought it to everybody's attention was in 1997, a computer program called Deep Blue was developed. And it was a chess, like a chess program. And it ended up beating the world champion. I think they went head to head 2 years in a row. And the first time the world champion beat the program. So then the next year they tweaked it, and the program like wiped the floor with the champion.
Oh, yeah.
And Gary Kasparov was the champion's name. So that was like a big deal because it was like, what? A computer can be smarter than a person?
Yeah.
No, that's not a thing. And I was like, maybe he should have just tried the Queen's Gambit. And
I cannot believe that.
no, that's the only chess term that I know because I watched the Queen's Gambit. So
Did you watch all of it?
Yes.
Why are you?
Are you serious?
Yeah, I can't. Are you surprised that I believe that you finished a television series
Finish things
that wasn't called The Midwife?
I did not finish Call the Midwife. I became disenchanted with that story because they. Never mind. I'm not talking about. Anyway,
I almost got her. Almost got her.
They just. Never mind. Okay. So then, I really feel like the next really big deal thing was ye old smartphones.
Yeah. Hey, move that away from your cable.
I did not have it near my cable. You've not been hearing any weird buzzing.
I'm not wearing my headphones, so maybe
We should probably wear our headphones so that we can hear that stuff.
Or just move your phone. Yeah.
Anyway, smartphones have just brought like a litany of AI technology that we just carry around in our pockets now, from like predictive text and navigation. All of us started to be like, I think my phone is listening to me. I think my phone actually is reading my mind. Why did I think about something this morning and voiced it to no one, and it's in my targeted ads this afternoon? That is terrifying. And there are all kinds of articles about why that happens. It's kind of like a magician can read your thoughts when really a lot of it is about the messaging that they're giving to you.
Implanted.
And not really what you're thinking, because anyway.
But also you probably said it out loud.
Maybe. I don't know. We all started to get like super creeped out when we all got these automated assistants in our homes named Alexa
Roomba.
or Siri or Google or Cortana. And like they'll just start talking to you because they think they hear their name, and then you're like, no, hey, hey,
Yes, Charles,
Alexa,
you
stop
wanted me?
listening. And she's like, okay. Only she never really stops listening, does she? Because you really want her to respond to you the next time you say, hey, Alexa. Oh, sorry, I triggered somebody's Alexa.
It's the Kellys from The Office. Yes,
Yes.
Charles.
Yes, Charles, you wanted me.
You wanted me?
It's not the worst idea, she said. Yeah. So let's see. So now, more recently, there have been some even bigger things that have been developed that are like starting to get even more like kind of scary. Well, some of them are like really cool. And then there are some of them that are just plain scary to me. I don't know. So we've got like AI created art coming out. Midjourney was a program that you were talking about.
Yep.
There's Chat GPT, which is, I don't really know.
It's wicked cool.
It just sounds weird to me, but that's where people are making like movie scripts and
Anything. Literally
yeah.
anything you want.
Excuse me.
Anna, it helped me code something for Love Thy Nerds
I know
website.
yeah.
The robot is a part of us. Okay.
Well, so I like kind of borderline think that some Christian artists sometimes are just like if AI could write a Christian song, a Christian contemporary song, it would say some of these
a
words.
YouTube video of a guy doing that, and he was like, doesn't suck.
Well, maybe it was better than some of the other
his
ones
ultimate
I've heard.
question was, how long before you just don't know?
Okay, well, save it for the podcast.
We're doing a fight.
Because we're going to talk about that next
Okay,
segment.
right.
But I mean, it's the kind of things that it can do. Like, I'm sure it could write lyrics. Obviously, I'm sure they're developed. Like, there are ones that can write music.
I was going to say,
music,
it
like
will,
the notes.
Chat GPT will do that for you.
Will it?
Oh, yeah.
There's content aware fill in Photoshop, and then there's like filters on TikTok. There's like the AI manga filter, and that's getting like super weird
That
and
one's
silly.
weird.
I know Radio Matt like has had a lot of fun with that. There are people who are like trying to find all the ghosts in the world by just pointing the AI manga filter at things and being like, oh, there's one right there.
Who are you going to call?
Or this is another one is like trying to see if your pets are really animals or if they're humans trapped in pets' bodies. What?
I basically had that same conversation with you yesterday.
Oh, no, that was, yeah, you did.
It
And
was
you're
a variation of that.
yes, a ridiculous
have?
thing that you said.
We have enough time. So what I said to Anna, and I'm not like ashamed of this per se, but it's just a thought that
Are
I had.
you not?
A fleeting
I feel
thought.
like maybe
Listen.
you should be.
Listen, Linda, what the thought that I had was, and this is like just based on absolutely nothing. I'm not hanging a theological hat or anything on this, right?
No, everything that you say can be used against you in a court of law
Hey, I know my rights.
or in Sunday school.
Basically that one. And I just looked at Anna and I was like, you know what? What if our pets were like our loved ones?
You said our wives or our children or
What
something.
I meant was like people that like care about us and that we have cared for. Just in a different dimension. What if?
Yeah, because you were
What
like,
if?
look, Sylvie looks at me the same way you do. That's what you said.
Hey.
No. She probably gazes more lovingly and adoring.
Well,
she probably does. I'm not going to lie.
in
I am not sappy like that.
another dimension.
I
we had a
actually,
better
sometimes I
relationship.
like to look at you while you sleep
Weirded
and
out.
creep you out.
Weirded out. Are you serious?
Sometimes I
When
look
are-
at people while they sleep.
When is it? People? Multiple people?
The kids.
All right. Hey,
Like you,
Don't
like
fall
you
asleep
and
around
PJ
Anna.
are. I have so many pictures in my phone of you and PJ laying there sleeping together. I don't share them.
All
I just
right.
I just have them and I just keep them. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Speaking of AI,
moving on.
Yeah.
That got weird. Okay, so, okay, that's all the things happening. So I thought,
I want you to share those pictures with me. I want to see them. I want to see the composition.
it's
Were they
not,
artistic?
it's not usually very good because it's usually in the really early morning light when it's super dark in our room. And then I'm always like, that picture's terrible.
Are they
Maybe
cute?
I'll do it next time with the AI manga filter on
There
and
we
see
go.
what happens.
Thank you. Are they cute, or is it like he's got his big toe in my nose or something?
No, they're cute.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I'll allow it.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about like the way that so people have been playing around with the idea of like what is big AI going to look like and what kind of impact is it going to have on the world. They've been doing this in movies and television and books, I'm sure, but I don't read as many books as I watch movies. So I wanted to talk about some of our favorite examples of AI in movies and television. I kind of like starting from the most innocuous examples and developing into the most like ominous.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So in 1962,
The year of our Lord.
Hanna-Barbera came out or had a,
Barbara?
Hanna-Barbera?
Barbera.
Hanna-Barbera. It's Barbara. Hanna-Barbera. I don't watch these old-timey cartoons. I didn't have a television.
Hannah Montana.
Hannah Montana in 1962. The Jetsons. I'm trying to say the Jetsons. And, they had all of their future-y stuff. But one of the things that they had was their robot maid, Alice,
Yep.
who was obviously AI. She was like resembled
100% she was AI.
humanoid thing. Well, she looked like a vacuum
She had
cleaner.
an attitude.
Like a vacuum cleaner with a face and an apron.
Yep. She was sassy robot.
She's a sassy one.
Sassy.
Sassafras. Okay. Do you know what sassafras is? I say that all the time.
Cat?
Nope. Hey, any of our listeners know what sassafras is? It's a candy. Well, maybe, yeah. I had sassafras candy when I was younger. It's got a real strong flavor.
Of?
Kind of lemony. Sassafras?
Okay. That's not helpful.
It's a sassafras
Keep
flavor?
using the word. Doesn't help define it. Yeah.
This lady gave it to me. Her name was Anna. Her name
Was it
my
you
name
from the
was
future?
Anna. No,
Or
definitely
another
not.
dimension?
My name was Anna and her name was Anna. I was so little that it was very confusing to me. And having a name that's somewhat unique like Anna, you don't meet a lot of Annas. I don't. And I had never met one before. And she would call our house and I would answer the phone. And she would say, "Hi, Anna. This is Anna." And I would be like, "No, it is not. I'm Anna."
Man, that would have tripped me out as a kid. All the way out. What's the future like?
Anyway, yeah. Sassafras. Okay. Sassy robots. Alice, the Jetsons. Do you like how I was able to trace that
it's
all
easy. Yeah,
back?
no
For our
problem.
listeners, hey, I got you covered. If you didn't
No
follow any of that,
problem.
I am aware of what I'm saying. Okay, next. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Columbia Pictures, 2009.
Cheeseburger.
Yeah. That little computer thing kind of like develops its own
Flintstones.
Flintstone verb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That thing.
And then Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs too is like even like weirder.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of weird
evolves.
stuff. But yeah, I specifically was talking about the Flintstone verb. Okay. Meet the Robinsons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those things
now,
are sentient.
yeah, like it's a cartoon, but also kind of creepy, like stuff going on in there. And this, it reminded me a lot about one we're going to talk about in a little bit, like iRobot, though, where it's developed its own like personhood and has decided that people aren't awesome.
Nope.
So that's scary. Anyway, next, Wall-E.
Wall-E is fantastic.
Love Wall-E.
Wall-E to me is a very interesting mix of the two because Wall-E himself.
Disney Pixar 2008.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I get the word origin, please? Wall-E is not. He's not sentient, but he's also not like he's not prime directive driven, right? So like a lot of robots in Hollywood, right, are coded to the prime directive.
It's a Star Trek thing, right?
Well, iRobot.
Oh.
Like,
But it
cannot harm humans is one of the the laws is what it's called in iRobot.
because their ethics
you don't want it. You
their
don't want it to
ethics
happen.
committees all met and voted that we had to do it this way.
Yeah.
Or else
Hey, what's one thing you want these robots to do?
or else we couldn't keep doing this, but nobody was in a back lab somewhere like
Nope.
I'm not operating by the rules of the ethics committees.
Yeah, and that person is definitely not the villain in every one of these movies.
Okay.
But anyway, so Wally, he's in the middle. Like he has a job that he's doing on the plant on Earth, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Waste management is cubing up all the trash
he's
in
a
the whole
cuber.
world.
Yeah. And so he's doing the thing that he needs to do, but then when he's done with his day, he has kind of like human characteristics in that he puts his rollers away, his
Hey, just
tread
like
away.
the Mr. Rogers thing.
Yeah, and then he sits and he watches
His stories.
movies,
Yeah.
and he learns about emotion and love and caring. And so even when Eve, who is a more sophisticated robot, comes, she actually learns that from him. And so then you have what's the wheel navigator? I forget what the wheel is called in that movie.
I don't remember.
Spoiler alert, it's the bad guy. Right? But it's only the bad
That
guy.
is a big spoiler.
It's only when did it come out? 2008?
2008.
You're
yep.
fine. I think the statute of limitations is lifted on the spoiler ban.
Came out the year we were married.
And so, it did.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's only the bad guy because it's trying to not let the humans go back to Earth because that is its prime directive. Like, the humans are like, we've got to go home. We can go home. And it says, you cannot go. It's not
That's
inhabitable.
Red tape.
Don't go,
That stinking red
So it
tape.
keeps them from doing things and becomes the bad guy for following a very stringent set of rules. And so at all cost, right? So it's really interesting. I think Wall-E, probably more than any of these things, is the really interesting midpoint between total
and
programming
yeah.
and sentience. Sentience? What is the
There's
word?
actually, I think in our next segment, there is another the singularity, I think they call it maybe. There's like a term for it
Got it.
coming into its developing like
Robot puberty.
mind theory kind of
AI puberty.
stuff. So yeah, it gets real weird real
Wall-E.
quick. Wall-E, okay. Star Trek. This is a big one. One of the most famous AI robots in all time is Data. Data first appeared on Star Trek in 1987. Which, so
Was not the year we were married.
it was the year I was born.
Yeah.
So there's that. I mean, it just made some of you feel really old.
Me, oh my gosh.
And some of you think that I am really old. So
I was so one.
you were 1 year old. Aw. So there's this one episode of Star Trek that I was watching where Data is talking about how like the human body and brain are amazing because they can just human beings go through this period of growth and their brains just recalibrate all the time to deal with growing bodies and how difficult that it would be for a machine. But now I'm like, I don't know. I feel
That'd
like
be
they
fine.
can make programs to deal with that.
Not even a problem.
Okay. iRobot. We talked about this.
Yeah, we did talk a little bit about
iRobot is terrifying.
Yep.
That is a scary movie. Not like horror and jump scares, although there may be some jump scares in there, but just the concept of it, like, will leave you sleepless at night. That was Davis Entertainment in 2004. Davis Entertainment? I don't know.
Never heard of her.
I know. Okay, The Matrix in 1990. Oh, you want to talk about iRobot?
Well, no. We're just going to go and say the last two.
Okay.
The Matrix and Terminator. And the reason I say the last two is because if you actually like go and dive into the creation of those two, they were created together.
Oh, what?
Yeah. And so like the Matrix, when it was written, is the precursor for Terminator.
The Matrix is part of Skynet.
And it honestly, like it's fascinating. We'll put stuff in the show notes and all that stuff. Like they build on each other.
Okay.
And goes back to like create itself and like it's, weird time travel thing, but it's also like highly spiritual. In that like it is, good versus evil. There's a Christ-like figure in Neo that, becomes the one and all sorts of stuff. Like it was written for that to kind of show this struggle between not just necessarily man and machine, but like the struggle that we have against the things in the world as Christians. And so it's really interesting. I'm not going to say, oh, go look at Terminator and that's like the best Christian movie out there. It's not. Like it was taken and it's something completely different now. But those two movies in and of themselves are like, this is what happens when when we are outpaced, when humans are outpaced by the machines.
Yeah.
So Terminators, that's bad, right?
These three movies, iRobot, The Matrix, and Terminator, are all I think about when I think about artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
I don't think about the iPhone in my pocket. I think about these robots that are like, I don't know, just, what is that? A person of interest?
Mm-hmm.
With like, the always listening and the everything.
Listen, lady, we're not doing conspiracy theories, okay? Like, that's not what this episode is, but they're totally already doing that. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay.
There's this little place called China. And it already has that set up where all the AI does is like it goes and it scans all the cameras, reads their faces, and can tell you if they're happy or if they're not, or like can track people to say this is this person because of how they walk and those characteristics and all sorts of stuff. So like there absolutely 100% is a side of AI that can be used for good and fun and all sorts of really cool creative things. And then there is a side of it that is at worst nefarious, right? At best intrusive. And so it's this is difficult because as we continue to move forward in this world that we live in, it's only going to become more AI driven. All right. That's the trajectory that we're on. And you had talked about, I don't know if we're doing it in this segment or the next one, but like there are different breakdowns of like the eras that we're in. I think that we'll get to that in the next segment. So, hey, we're going to take a really quick break. This is a fascinating discussion that we're having here, and we're not even scratching the surface. We're like legitimately skipping across the top.
We're not going to get to everything.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But if you also need to go and watch all these movies to just kind of wash your brain a little bit, I understand that because I'm going to have to do that as well. Hey, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to be talking more about artificial intelligence right here on the Church Nerds Podcast. Hey there, and welcome back to the Church Nerds Podcast. Once again, my name is Bubba.
My name's Anna.
And today we welcome our robot overlords.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, so last segment we talked about
artificial intelligence.
We talked about the history of AI. We talked about how it came about. We talked about some of the cool and weird and sometimes disturbing things that it has brought into the world with us. We talked about some examples of how we use it, like on a daily basis. A lot of it, even as I was researching this episode of Ye Old Church Nerds Podcast.
I've heard of it. Familiar with the film.
Had to look some things up on the Google machine, and what do you know?
It knows.
I mean,
it knows.
That's AI stuff.
How do we not talk about Black Mirror?
I don't know how we didn't talk about Black Mirror.
To me, and I'm just like we're gonna close out kind of that Hollywood segment.
You better make it quick because I have a lot of stuff to talk about.
I'm gonna close it out really quick. If you want to watch something that it's very, very like mature. Okay, like
Yes.
so I don't tread lightly. Don't watch it with your kids, like that kind
Do
of a deal.
not. And maybe don't watch the first couple
There are
episodes
several
at all.
episodes to skip. We're not going to get into all that, but this is it really explores all of the danger. Well, I say all the dangers. Some of the most extreme dangers of technology and artificial intelligence and
Yep.
a technological crutch of sorts. And none of the episodes are like, and they all lived happily ever after. None of them are. This is all, hey, here's all the absolute worst of technology. And so it's not even a recommendation. It's just that would be the thing that I think best shows all of the negative qualities of technology and it outpacing us.
Okay. Well,
Like you were saying
well,
before you were so rudely interrupted.
so I thought we would talk very briefly about our different perspectives. And we mentioned this a little bit before, that you're like, I'm fine with AI. AI is cool. It's fine. I'm going to use it. So I want you to talk a little bit about that.
It's kind of an interesting way to look at it. I live my entire life with technology at my hands, in my fingertips, and in my life. If you were to remove technology from my anything,
Which I have tried to talk about doing that.
yeah, if you do that, I have to completely change everything that I do. And it's not like I just have to find a new way to do something.
No, you just have to light lots of fires. Just
You love thy
burn
fire.
a lot of wood.
Yeah.
Burn a lot of wood.
Love thy fireplace. That's
I'm not saying
love thy fire pit.
stop doing it forever. Just like,
But that's what I'm saying is we live. Love Thy Nerd exists in a time in history when we are a California 501c3
why do you have to say California?
because that's where it is. We are a Californian
You have to
501c3.
specify the state.
If you if you let me finish, I'll tell you why. California 501c3. I have employees that live in New Mexico. The CEO, myself, lives in Texas. My COO and another one of our employees lives in Indiana.
Yes.
Okay. So it is impossible for us all to be together. We have to use technology
Yes.
and the internet in order to get together and
Yes.
to communicate and to make sure that everything runs properly. This podcast that we are doing only exists because of technology, like current technology, digital information technology.
Yep.
Okay. Now that has, I don't want to say nothing to do. I think it has something to do with artificial intelligence, but the next wave of things is going to be artificial intelligence. Okay. Now,
Next episode's going to be written by
don't tease me because I will go and I will make Chat GPT do it all, and it freaking will, and you will have no idea. But I think that, it's one of those things. I was talking to you about it earlier. I think it was a couple of days ago when we were really diving into this. And I said, you know what? Artificial intelligence, AI, does not bother a single person when it's helpful.
well, I mean, we talked.
Nobody's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, Google, stop giving me things that I tried to spell correctly and absolutely didn't because I don't know where the I goes in there. All right? Mind your business. Nobody gets mad at that. But then it's like, oh, whoa, hey, are you listening to me? Are you doing this? Hey, you're trying to influence me? Self-driving cars, all that stuff, taking away the car jobs, all that stuff. It was a South Park reference. You don't understand because you're a Christian.
I wouldn't.
But I think it gets to a point where it's not a problem until it affects you personally, right?
Right.
And we have smart devices in our home. Not just, I'm not going to say the G word, but that's the one that we have. And, even when sometimes I'll be talking and I'll have my watch on and the lady that lives inside of my Apple device thinks I'm talking to her and she'll go, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. And so is it always listening? Yes, it is absolutely always listening. But for me personally, it's helpful, right? Like it benefits me in the way that I'm using it. I'm not going out.
Like the mark of the beast will benefit the people.
I think that I think that's biblical.
Okay.
That it will.
Good. I'm glad we're talking about this here.
And so it's one of those things where I think it's a thing to be cautious about in general, but it doesn't frighten me or terrify me. Maybe it's because we're not like we're not at the point of like being outpaced, which some people believe is in the next 5 to 10 years. But I do think that right now, I'm not worried about Star Trek. I'm not worried about Skynet. I'm not worried about that kind of stuff because I think that we let Hollywood kind of drive our thoughts.
Some of us are very influenceable.
In the same way, I will say this, in the same way that we let Hollywood determine what other people think about religion and Christianity and all sorts of stuff. But we don't like to put those two in the same thing. It's like, no, it's right about this, but it's not right about this.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I mentioned that like iRobot and Terminator and stuff really bother me.
Yeah.
Obviously. But I think that, there is a certain amount of compartmentalization that you could do because it's like, well, it's Hollywood. It's not real. This is fiction. It's just, science fiction.
Yep.
So one of the first times that it started to get really real and really kind of scary to me where it was like, holy moly, like this is getting out of hand is you called me over to your computer and you're like, look at this. I was like, what? You're like, AI made this image. And I think that it was kind of a galaxy kind of image. Mm-hmm. This was happening right at the same time as they're like, look, the whatever telescope brought back these super cool images, which I'm like, did it though? This is happening right as
Come
all the
on.
What?
Come on.
I don't know about that because right at the same time, I keep almost knocking that over.
Yeah, please don't.
Right at the same time as it's like, look what AI can do. This was created by a computer, and it looked amazing, and that like struck a chord with me. Not because I personally am an artist. I would consider myself something of a creative, but like my sister is an artist.
Sure.
And she's tried to like get into children's illustrations and stuff like that, children's book illustrations. And so I'm like, to me, thinking these are people's jobs.
Sure.
And not only that, like art has like people pour their heart into their art. Mm-hmm. It's full of emotion and almost this thing that I'm like, well, this is something that makes us like, this is something distinctly human that we can do this. But then it's like, is it though? Because if a computer can do it, like for a computer to just be able to turn out this amazing looking work, these really cool images and they're beautiful, but it's just coming out of its like cold processor brain. I'm like, that just feels awful to me.
It's imperfect in all the wrong ways. And so like you can see it doesn't do like hands very well. It's always like everybody's the 6 or 7 fingered man.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. It's crazy. People always have more teeth than they should have. Like it's having a hard time. And also, I mean, like to your point about this is people's livelihood. It's their stuff. What it's doing is it is sampling from art on the internet. Mm-hmm. Anything that is available.
It's just copying right now. Really.
To the point where you can actually see the remnants of the signatures of the artist in the AI renderings of different things. You're like, I want to see, Michael Jordan, riding a box of Fruit Loops.
It's not really creating, it's compiling.
In the style of da-da-da-da-da-da, like.
Well.
And it'll do it, but.
Yeah. Well, that's how I feel about it is I'm like, it's starting to do all these things that I'm like, but I thought these were human things. Yeah. And so we're going to kind of shift this a little bit into like church.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know. So I started Googling like AI and church because you had told me that you had read something about like AI pastors or something like that. So that's what I was trying to find. What I found was actually way more terrifying than that.
Oh, okay.
The first thing that I found was this thing called Way of the Future. So in 2017,
Not Way of the Master.
no, but I thought about that.
Okay.
In 2017, this guy, and I thought that surely I was going to, I have an article here about it. Okay, so this guy named Anthony Lewandowski, who worked a lot with Google and I'm not sure if it was Uber, also Google and Uber, on like self-driving car kind of stuff.
Okay. Minority Report.
Okay, so he ended up in some hot water with Google because he stole some of their technology. And
Okay.
he had actually opened up a nonprofit in 2015 because as he's
Familiar
not
with the process?
he's not as like super old guy. In this article, he looked like maybe our age, like old enough to be kind of balding, but not old.
Rude.
I didn't say you were balding.
Jeez, lady. What's wrong?
Anyway, so he's been in like all, robotics and AI like for quite a while and is watching it just start like really, because as
Ramp
our
up.
processing and storage has gotten to be like massive now.
Yeah.
Now we're capable of so much more. And I think he said that he was watching a machine starting to build other machines and outdo the most advanced professionals that we had.
100%.
And he, at that moment, was like, it's inevitable. Machines are going to take over the world. They're going to be better at this, all of this managing of everything than we are. Whose side do I want to be on? So you joke about this all the time. You're like,
do.
for the
Make sure you
longest
say
time,
please and thank you.
he always is very polite to Siri and all of the robots because he's like, don't be rude to them. What would happen if Skynet really were a thing? Like
Don't
you
bite
need
the
to.
hand that feeds,
That is
man.
literally what this guy is doing. So he opened a nonprofit that was dedicated to ushering in artificial intelligence and like establishing humanity as a good thing, or at least his sect of humanity as like the helpful ones. And he was like, people don't laugh at me. Like, we need to be taking this seriously. So when he got fired from Google, he's like, okay, now I'm really going to work on this church thing. He called it the Way of the Future.
Yeah.
And he set himself up as the dean of it forever and always.
Absolutely, yeah.
And started to like go on tour and do all these. It's been dissolved now. Once,
It's the way of the past now.
yeah, he dissolved it and used all the money that was put into it in like during Black Lives Matter into like legal,
Oh, okay.
stuff. Anyway, so that was a thing because he was like, I completely certain. He's like, this is just an absolute inevitability. And I was like,
Okay.
yikes. Okay, so there's that. We have in a Catholic priest that is an AI named Santo, and he's a robot priest. He's basically Catholic Alexa, is what they've said.
Really?
Yeah, like you can ask it questions about spirituality, and I think that you can ask it to like pray for you.
Can it absolve you of your sins?
I don't know about that. I would say it's like an info robot kind of thing. Like, that's what it seemed like. It's not, they said it's not like super.
It's Zoltar.
It's not super deep, but it could be helpful if you're just trying to get some informational stuff. Then there's also, this is not in the Christian faith at all. This is actually a Buddhist AI monk / goddess thing
Okay.
called Mindar that is in a
Mindar.
temple, and it does like ceremonies and rituals, and it has a whole silicone face that's
Really?
been modeled after a goddess. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And the monk, like one of the guys there who he's very on board with it. And he's like, we need to do this. Like, this is coming. And we just like, this is incredible.
Get ahead of it, yeah.
This is an incredible tool.
Yeah.
And then some people are like, nah.
Man, I feel like that is just textbook worship the creation, not the creator, right?
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because
in that instance, because
it's very definitive that we know, hey, this hasn't been around. We created it.
We built this.
I mean, honestly, somebody
You built these idols with your hands, and then out of gold and silver, and then you go to worship them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's really interesting is that somebody mentioned this to me the other day, or not to me. I was probably watching something on TikTok, if I'm being honest, but they put it this way, and I'm going to butcher this, but it was something to the effect of, rocks are smarter than we are. Now, we're teaching rocks to be smarter than us because that's basically what the metals and, the chemicals and the silicones and all this stuff. It's like,
got it.
Those
are the components.
These inanimate objects are now becoming smarter than we are, and in some ways acting more human than we are because, they're doing the right thing without the emotion involved and all sorts of stuff. It's a really interesting way to look at this whole thing, is that, that kind of is the creation story in some way, shape, or form, that God formed Adam out of the dust of the earth. Like it's a really interesting thing to think about. It doesn't necessarily line up with scripture and what we believe in Christianity, but like it honestly, it just, like, when you sit down and you look at these things, it's like, oh my gosh, man. Like I could see why somebody would want to do that. Like it makes sense in my brain from just an understanding standpoint. It does not make me want to do it. I don't want to take this iPad and build an altar to it. Because I know the definitive beginning of these things. As a Christian, I serve a God that has no beginning. That's the faith that I have in that, is that He's the beginning of all things. And so, I don't know. It's really interesting. We see that time and time again throughout Scripture, right? Like I was just listening to a Bible project. It's not a sermon, a Bible project study on the bronze snake. And it'll be lifted up, and so will the Son of Man, and all sorts of stuff. And then they started worshiping that thing that had delivered them. It was a thing that they could literally look at its creation, its moment of inception, and they were like, nope, we need that. That's our thing.
Yeah.
Without it, we are nothing. It's like,
yeah,
weird.
Yeah.
How we rationalize things as humans. It's just interesting.
Well, I mean, obviously there is no room for us to be actively worshiping AI or technology or anything. But there is sort of this question, like when you were talking to me way back when, where it's like, is there room for us to be using AI tools in the place where we have used human beings up to this point, even in some ministerial capacities? Like, is that wrong to do? Is it a tool that we should tap into? Because honestly, there's a bunch of stuff that people probably talked about being wrong way back in the day. We've got TVs in church. We've got like computers in church. We're using people management software that keeps track of everyone's like data to a certain extent, and helps us to compile lists and all of these different things. Like, is it possible? I don't know. Here are some things that I was thinking about. Like counseling services via chatbot kind of stuff, where it's like, obviously there's going to reach a point where your life is going to be more complicated than what these responses are capable of giving you the answer for. But is there a certain amount of like, these are some general questions that we know can be answerable? Obviously, points of human contact seem pretty important in church.
Representative. Representative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But is that something, I mean, we use automated texting. We use emails. We have like, how do we feel that a lot of us have giving auto-drafted?
Yeah.
Is that a true offering and tithe to the Lord if it is robotic?
Actually, I'm going to be, I don't even know if you know this or not, but I'm going to be preaching at the Lux Digital Church February the 8th. And their series is Leave Everything. And I'm going to be talking about Romans 12:1 and 2, worshiping in spirit and truth. And yeah, it's been a hot minute. That's my go-to. But I'm going to be talking about that and what it means to truly sacrifice. And the worship that is only in existence because of sacrifice.
Well, you should probably talk about auto drafting.
And it's going to be,
your tithes and
I'm just going to get
offerings.
ChatGPT to write the whole thing. And so it's going to be great.
Or I was like, is there a difference between having ChatGPT write a sermon? Because I know without a doubt, you could have it write the sermon.
This is where
And then
you're going
you could just go ahead and check it for, scriptural accuracy and errors and things like that. Is that and I'm like, oh no, that's terrible, because like we need to be in scripture and we need to be like in communion with the Lord and that kind of thing. But is that really any different than just going and listening to a televangelist, and listening to a podcast when you don't really know that person from Adam? You don't know the relationship that they have with the Lord. You don't know any of those things. So is that any different?
I'll take it and go one step further than that.
Okay.
Is it any different than going and taking somebody else's sermon and re-preaching it?
Well, people shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be doing that.
But it happens there are legitimate services that exist. It's like, hey, you need this thing? Here's a sermon series in a box. Here's a this in a box. And like, I'm talking like even churches, and I'm not throwing shade. This just is what it is. It's part of the conversation we're having. Churches that are like, hey, you want this entire passion series that you can, walk people through at your church.
You want
to do this
Numa
this Jen Wilkins study with your ladies group, like that kind of stuff. It's like, I mean,
because it's good material.
It's not artificial intelligence that's doing it, but you're not doing any of the work. You're benefiting.
Yeah, but I mean, when you get into that, it's like, well, all of the letters that the apostles wrote were copied and redistributed. And so is it any different from that?
All I'm saying, I don't have an answer for any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and honestly, I don't have a definitive answer.
No,
even in an
no
opinion.
answers at all.
Even
period.
You guys, if anybody's been watching,
although I have
listening,
one more direction to go.
Anybody who's been watching or listening to Church Nerds for any length of time knows that we don't answer questions.
We answer no questions.
Yeah,
none
we
at
just
all.
ask a ton of them.
Nope.
Give you things to think about.
Can barely answer the question of like, who are you and what's your name? I mess my intro up every time.
Who can tell? It's nebulous. Okay, so wrap it up because we got to wrap it up.
Well, so the only other thing that we have to address here is that is definitely a group of people who feel like to invite AI into our way of doing things is to, like, I was joking around about the mark of the beast and stuff, but like legitimately believe that this is actually like end times mark of the beast stuff, and you are actively bringing that in and incorporating it into.
So yeah, now you're getting into what is the theology that drives your eschatology, the theology that you have around the end times, right? That's what eschatology is. You get into pre-trib, post-trib, no-trib, mid-trib, all sorts of stuff. Thank you, Left Behind, for confusing everybody. It's one of those deals. Which, hey, the new one dropped. Heard it's a banger, and so
Okay.
I have to go to the cinema theater, go watch that flick.
No, I still have all of The Chosen to watch.
Yeah, no, we can do that too.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I think that with anything else, your worldview, the lens at which you view your world through, that's what worldview is. Even if you're like, this is a Christian worldview, it's like, okay, but what's your prescription though? Like how thick is the lens? How bent is it? Where's your deficiency? What are you trying to correct? That kind of stuff. And I think that, like, for me, I'm not worried about this becoming the mark of the beast. I'm just not. Because my eschatology, the way that I view this, is that it's not building up to that for me, right? Now, Anna and I, we don't agree on a whole lot of things, ever, period, in the history of time. No, but like when it comes to like spiritual things that we don't really have answers for, that are just things to talk about and to theorize and speculate and interpret and all sorts of stuff. Like Nephilim is one of them that we kind of go back and forth on, her and I. But I think this might be another one for us. I think that you absolutely are a person that would worry about technology, mark of the beast, everything getting chipped, all sorts of stuff. And I'm not making fun of that. It's just like I'm not.
You totally judged me.
I'm not. Am I wrong? No.
No. Yes, you're wrong. Like, I don't. I was gonna read this thing from a podcast, or not a podcast, like a website.
We don't have time for you to read
people
that. Like, we're way over. We have to.
It's the Bible. It's a Bible verse.
Put it at the end. Truncate. We got to truncate. You had all that time to read from the Bible, and you want to talk about Way of the Master. What'd you call it? Way of the future.
Oh my goodness.
Way of the past.
Wow.
But anyway, I do think that this is something worth thinking about, something worth talking about, but I'm not going to tell you guys what to think or how to move forward.
No, that's AI's job.
Exactly, it is. Yeah, ChatGPT will help you out. But I do think that there is a level of fear that can settle on a person when you think about this. And the encouragement that I have in all of this is not, hey, don't worry about it. It's fine. Oh, everything's going to be great. Because I think that if we don't keep this in check, it can get out of control, like anything can, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so I think that it's important that we do temper ourselves and speak out when we feel like we need to speak out, but at the same time to understand that that God is in control. If we truly believe that we serve a sovereign God, then He is sovereign even over technology and artificial intelligence. And so that's kind of where I rest in that, in the hope that Jesus is still on His throne, that even when the bad things happen in the world, Jesus is still on His throne. And that includes AI and all of the things that Hollywood is designed. Guys, it is designed. This is not tinfoil hat. It is an entertainment industry. And it's designed to get you concerned about whatever it is that it's doing, whether it's a movie and it's fictional or otherwise.
Just wants engagement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we as nerd culture, we get lambasted all the time for not being able to separate reality from, fiction.
Virtual, yeah.
And so it's just, to me, I think it's really interesting when you think about this in that context. It's like, hey, mainstream everybody else, are you not able to separate reality from fiction? Like, yes, we have robots that play chess. Yes, we have robots that are making art and all sorts of stuff. But you can look at it and go, man, it's just a robot. It's just a robot. I think that the bigger thing for me is the dependency on it. Mm-hmm. Okay? In the same way that, we have dependency on our calculators, and our teachers always told us, you're never going to have a calculator in your pocket. You're going to have to figure everything out. And it's like, well, now I have all of the calculators that have ever existed in my pocket.
Yeah.
Those super expensive Texas Instruments,
Yep.
supercomputers.
It is very weird that any question that you have, you can just
We got the
Google
answer.
it.
Yep,
Yeah,
we have the answer.
that's just not a thing that existed.
Well, speaking of the answers, again, we have none of them here. They're all on the
Jesus
internet.
is the answer.
Jesus is the reason for the season, and that's all you need to
We
know
said
about.
different things.
We said the same thing, though. But hey, man, we want to continue this conversation with you. Head on over to Discord, and let's talk about it there. lovethynerd.com/Discord. If you don't know what Discord is,
You can talk to Bubba on Discord.
yeah, absolutely.
I will probably not be
You
there.
can't talk to Anna. She doesn't know how.
I love you, but I probably won't be on Discord.
Yeah, that's true. You can send
Say it to
Anna
my
a
face.
fax. Yeah. Fax her. Oh man. Well, hey, don't go anywhere because when we do come back, we've got a nerdy recommendation for you and also a Church Nerds memory verse right here on the Church Nerds podcast. Well, to close out our show today, we do have a nerdy recommendation, and that is, if you're watching with us on YouTube, this beautiful board game right here that I absolutely 100% did make my best friend in the entire universe go to Germany to get for me. That's Turing Machine by, I can't say the name of this company without cursing. And it's not because it makes me so mad. I just don't know how to say it without saying a curse word. And so I'm not going to. But it's published by Le Scorpion Masque. And this game, Turing Machine, if you know anything about the Turing Machine by Alan Turing, like he made a machine way back in ye olden days. And this isn't a history lesson on the Turing Machine, so please don't. But it was basically a machine that would decipher an endless tape. And what was being done on the tape. Was it shapes? Was it numbers? Was it whatever? So in this game, it's really interesting. You can see here in the back of the thing, there are 7+ million problems to solve. So there are problems that come in this game, and then you can scan the QR code in the back of the box or go to the website, and it's just an infinite amount of puzzles to solve.
They made a robot make more of them.
That's exactly what happened.
Oh my goodness.
That is exactly what happened. So this is the perfect game for what we're talking about today. It's unique. This game was some people's game of the year. It's my game of the year from last year in 2022. It's unique. I've never seen another thing like it. It is a bunch of just mind puzzles. You're trying to take information that is being given to you and check it against information that you have on the board. And everybody's trying to do this at the same time using, you can't see it, but like these are punch outs. And so everything is just like a punch out. And if it lines up, you're good. If it doesn't, you got to go back and recheck the data. It's fascinating. It's wonderful. You and I haven't played it yet because it's a litany of games that since I've gotten it, I've never gotten it to table.
Yeah. Well, so Alan Turing, his name came up in my
I believe that.
AI research, and I was like, Turing, and I asked you, does that have anything to do with that game, Turing Machine? And you're like,
Only everything.
yes, it does. Yeah.
He's considered the father of automation.
Oh.
Because he didn't coin it as the Turing machine. Mm-hmm. His doctoral professor coined it as the Turing machine. He called it the machine, automatic machine.
Oh, okay.
And so now we really could have chosen any game by like Stonemaier.
Yeah.
Because they have the single player variants of a lot of these popular games. Mm-hmm. It's AI, analog AI generated. You play as like the game plays itself, but you just choose the best move to take.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, check it out. Turing Machine. It's fantastic. It should be readily available now. We'll have all the information in the show notes, but I highly recommend it. That being said, it's not a game for everybody.
Sure.
It's just not.
None of them are
Yep.
for
So
everybody.
check it out. Turing Machine by a company I can't say. Anna, you got a Church Nerds memory verse for us.
Okay, so
Weekly verse.
this is very interesting to think about in light of the AI discussion. This is actually Colossians 1:16, which says, "For in him all things were created," him being Christ. "In him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, Whether thrones or powers, or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. So,
Even our robot overlords.
maybe?
Yep.